Good morning. Welcome to the May 21st, 2025 Governor and Executive Council meeting. Before we start, for those who haven't already, I asked you to take a moment to silence your phones and other electronic devices in consideration of everyone who's joined us today. We will begin this meeting with a prayer from Chaplain Mullins from the New Hampshire National Guard. Chaplain.
Let us pray. Loving God, as we gather to be about the important work of the citizens of New Hampshire, fill us with a renewed sense of responsibility. Provide us with the clarity and the hopeful purpose to care for the well-being of those we serve. Lastly, merciful God, we thank you for the life and service of one of our own, Justice David Souter, whose race is won and now rests eternally in your loving embrace. May we all prove worthy of such a mighty legacy. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And now we would like Councillor Stevens to introduce Plastow Fire Chief Chris Knudsen. And so, Councillor Stevens, I'll turn that over to you. Do we ask in the Pledge of Allegiance, Chief?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council?
Good morning, everyone. In honor of National EMS Week, I'm honored to introduce all of you to the Seacoast Fire Chiefs and thank them for prioritizing the public health and safety of the residents in my district when my district was at risk of losing critical life-saving services. On September 10, 2024, our region was blindsided by the abrupt termination of a 30-year advanced life support program, which was run by Beth Israel Lahey Health and Exeter Health Resources. With the merger, the program was terminated. The program, which served 68,000 residents across 281 square miles, provided critical pre-hospital care, including procedures called rapid sequence intubation. These are services that save lives in our most urgent times. Despite contractual obligations requiring 90 days notice, only 10 days were given. The decision created an immediate public health crisis and left fire departments scrambling for answers. I learned of this decision on primary election day directly from our fire chiefs. As I traveled across the district, I immediately contacted our Attorney General requesting a review of the $375 million merger agreement with Beth Israel Lahey Health and joined fire service leaders in challenging the legality of this reckless move. Together, we secured an extension of services through March 20th of 2025. But we used stat-gots weren't enough. What happened next is a testament to the strength of local leadership and the extraordinary capabilities of our emergency services community. Under the leadership of Plastow Fire Chief Knudsen, with the support of Seacoast Fire Chiefs and local officials in Plastow, a new vision took shape. The creation of a municipal and regional ALS intercept program, one that would not only replace what was lost, but expand care to more people, more communities over a larger area. And I'd like to say that the new system is bigger, better, and broader. Now 18 communities are safe. 101,000 residents are being protected, covering 341 square miles. The newly launched ALS program, as I said, is bigger, broader, and better. Our paramedics are often referred to as the Navy SEALs of the EMS community, and several of them are here today. And I'm thrilled because they were able to come over to our municipal program when Exeter was dismantling and they were losing their jobs. So during EMS Week, let us not only honor the daily courage and sacrifices of our EMS professionals, but also celebrate what the fire chiefs and my EMS providers have built together, a resilient, regionally coordinated, and community-driven ALS system that will save lives for years to come. Thank you. They're all here today. Come on up, guys. Thank you, and families. Thank you for your leadership, your partnership, and your tireless commitment to going above and beyond. I thank you.
Thank you very much. That's also for me behind here because we're going to take this out of order because I obviously deeply appreciate the incredible work that you do. And I also, as governor, have a commendation that I would like to read. Thank you for all of this. Recognizing the Seacoast Fire Chief Officers Mutual Aid District on May 21st, 2025, whereas the Seacoast Fire Chief Officers Mutual Aid District took decisive and immediate action to sustain a critical life-saving system when advanced life support services were abruptly discontinued, preventing a public health crisis and ensuring continuity of emergency care. And whereas the district launched a new state-of-the-art regional advanced life support ALS program in March of 2025, significantly expanding coverage, access, and quality of pre-hospital care for residents across the region. And whereas the regional ALS program now serves 18 communities, a 38% increase, over 101,000 residents, and covering 341 square miles, while delivering a rapid and effective emergency response system that has already responded to more than 480 calls since going live. And whereas the program has enhanced EMS services through reduced response times, improved patient outcomes, and strengthened the training, dispatch, and clinical accountability systems, while providing continuing education for EMS personnel and ALS paramedics. And whereas the program is offered at no cost to participating communities in its first year, reflecting a commitment to service, innovation, and responsible stewardship. Now therefore, I, Kelly Ayotte, Governor of the State of New Hampshire, do hereby commend the Seacoast Fire Chiefs Officers Mutual Aid District for their exemplary leadership, dedication to public safety, and commitment to strengthening emergency medical services through the successful implementation of the Regional Advanced Life Support Program. And I want to congratulate all of you, the Chief, and thank you for your incredible can-do and service to your communities. The Governor and Council would love to take a picture with you, if that is okay, and just say thank you for your incredible service.
Chief, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I have like a 49 minutes speech. This is an example of when all the stakeholders come together to develop a solution and to make it work. From the support we got from Executive Council Stevens, to the leadership of Chief McQuillan and the Seacoast Fire Chiefs Association, to my leadership within the town of Plastow, town manager and board of selectmen, we were able to take and prevent the public health crisis from occurring for over 100,000 people. The power of working together speaks loudly here. And also the power of having a wonderful life that supports me in everything that I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And the council would love to come join us. Thank you, Senator, as well.
We're going to need to squeeze that on for you. All right, eyes on me. 3, 2, 1. Perfect, thank you.
are very fortunate today to have the Bedford High's Chamber Choir performing for us, and I want to welcome them and thank you for your patience in being here. We really appreciate it. Please come forward and you can move the microphone around.
Our chamber choir's first song, Love, by Michael Engelhardt, is a beautiful and challenging choral piece. The word love is a constant repetition in the song, which is just one of the many things that make this an interesting piece. The song's complex harmonies and rhythms add layers of emotion to the song, showing how the word love can mean many different things. At multiple times in this song, there are at least 6 people who are on the parts by themselves, which is extremely difficult. We hope you love love.
Portuguese choral arrangement by Carlos Albert Pinto Fonseca. In this arrangement, Fonseca combines two popular folk songs from northern Brazil, O Moia Rendeira, a fun romantic song about a lace maker, and E Lampa, a song that acknowledges a Brazilian hero, Lampião. The two songs together form a joyous piece that sounds almost like a dance, creating a beautiful representation of Brazilian culture. Please enjoy.
All right, everybody look at me. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you.
Have a great rest of the day. Thanks for being here. near and dear to my heart in particular. We are honoring an incredible public servant this morning. We're going to be honoring Bud Fitch, who not only served in law enforcement as a police chief, but then he worked at the Attorney General's office and eventually tried to keep me out of trouble as my Deputy Attorney General, and then served as my state director when I was United States Senator, and has served for many years with distinction at the Secretary of State's office. And I would very much like to have Bud come forward so I can embarrass him. But and of course, our Secretary of State is here as well. And you want to define what it means to be a public servant? That's Bud Fitch. Honoring Orville Bud Fitch on May 21st of 2025. Whereas Orville Bud Fitch has dedicated his distinguished career to the service of the state of New Hampshire, bringing integrity, professionalism, and an unwavering commitment to the rule of law. And whereas Bud Fitch began his career in law enforcement as a police officer in Claremont and Plainfield, later serving as police chief in Sunapee from 1985 to 1992, demonstrating early his deep dedication to public safety and his community. And whereas Bud served as state director for United States Senator Kelly Ayotte, where he brought his extensive experience and steady leadership to constituent services and public policy, strengthening the connection between the federal government and the people of New Hampshire. And whereas Bud has also served in numerous senior roles within the New Hampshire Department of Justice, including as Deputy Attorney General, Acting Attorney General, and Senior Assistant Attorney General leading the Civil Bureau, where he played a critical role in safeguarding the legal interests of the state and upholding the constitutional rights of its citizens. And whereas Bud's retirement marks the conclusion of a career defined by tireless public service, a profound sense of civic responsibility, and a legacy that will continue to shape New Hampshire's justice system for years to come. Now, therefore, I, Kelly Ayotte, Governor of the State of New Hampshire, do hereby commend Orville Bud Fitch for its exemplary service to the state of New Hampshire and extend our sincere appreciation and best wishes for a well-earned retirement. I have to say, one of the things that makes our state great are people like Bud Fitch. So.
If you don't know him, you should. Bud has been in the office, my office, for probably a dozen years now, 10 to a dozen years. And I was thinking, are there some words or a word that would describe Bud? And, in thinking about that, words like work ethic, integrity, patience, knowledge, loyalty, sincerity, straightforwardness, mentor, teacher, team player, and you could go on and on. And when you put all of those words together, you have Bud in a package. He has epitomized the ideal of what a dedicated public servant is. And I think, bar none, he's the best example of that in the state of New Hampshire. He has gained the respect and admiration of thousands of state, local, and federal officials that he has interacted with. But ultimately, his true purpose has been to help serve the citizens of the state of New Hampshire by making sure that government officials, especially in the area of elections, are properly trained. And I have an example of that. Before Bud started in the Attorney General's office, working in the elections field, going to the Secretary of State's office, this was the election procedure manual. This is post-Bud. It's not that there's fluff, a lot of fluff in these documents. It's Bud has really organized the training of local election officials to the point that This is their Bible. It is easy to understand. It's organized by election official position. And that's the type of contribution that Bud has made to the state. And this is just one of probably hundreds of examples of that. He is a prolific worker. When he gets in email mode, I can't keep up. It's just very, very impressive. So, on a personal level, Bud, has been a friend and a great colleague, a mentor. He's always given sound legal advice, whether you want to hear that answer or not. And he just has clearly served with distinction. So, over the next couple of weeks, I'm sure Bud is going to be feted a couple more times. We're going to have a reception here on the 29th between 1 and 3. So anybody that wants to come and give Bud a send-off, please show up. And Bud, you have a well-deserved retirement coming. Thank you.
And you can get away, if you want to say anything, Bud.
I would just like to say thank you. It's been my privilege to serve the people of New Hampshire, and I've been given some wonderful opportunities by Governor Ayotte and Secretary of State Scanlon and Secretary of State Gardner before him. I truly appreciate having had those opportunities, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, eyes on me. 3, 2, 1. Perfect.
Moving forward, I call this meeting of the Governor Executive Council to order, and I ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the May 7th, 2025 council meeting.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Next, from the Office of the Secretary of State, we have the civil commissions. Can I please have a motion to confirm the list of civil commissions?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The commissions are approved. Are there any other nominations to be placed on the list? Hearing none, the matter of civil commissions is concluded. Next, we will move to resignations. From the Board of Home Inspectors, can I please have a motion to accept the resignation of Perry C. LeMay of Titusville, Florida? So moved.
Second.
Hearing none, any opposition? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. From the Mechanical Safety and Licensing Board, can I have a motion to accept the resignation of Alicia M. Cole of Dover?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. From the Department of Corrections, can I please have a motion to accept the resignation of Helen E. Hanks of Lockmere?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Devin, I would just like to say Lockmere is actually in Tilton. For folks that don't know that, I just want to thank Helen for 20-plus years of service to the state of New Hampshire.
Second. Councilman?
Thank you. I also wanted to thank Commissioner Hanks for her service, and particularly the decrease in recidivism that is a hallmark of her time at corrections. And thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the resignation, signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Today we'll be taking up nominations before confirmations, just so for the order of the agenda. As the Director of the Division of Fire Standards and Training and Emergency Medical Services of the Department of Safety, I nominate Mark P. Foley of Nashua. To the Community College System of New Hampshire, I nominate Haley Felix of Enfield. To the Lottery Commission, I nominate Stuart D. Tracy of Franklin. To the Fire Standards and Training Commission, I nominate Joseph R. Devine, Jr. of Rochester. To the New Motor Vehicle Arbitration Board, I nominate John W. Peck III of Salem. As the Acting Commissioner at the Department of Corrections, authorized as a temporary department head under RSA 4:5, I nominate John B. Skippa of Exeter. That concludes the list of nominations for today's meeting. And I see that we have a class joining us.
From Birch Academy in Salem.
Well, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? Good. How's your day going? Good. Okay, here's the question. The top of the dome, is it real gold or faux gold? What do you think?
Real.
You've done your homework. Okay, I'm impressed. Do you want to go down and meet the governor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate having you at our meeting, and so I'd love to give you a high five or as you come by, and just I hope you're enjoying your visit to our State House. Of course, the oldest state house in the country. It's a very special place, and it's your place because this is the people's business and the government. So come on through and enjoy your day.
Enjoy your day. Have a great day. Have a great day, guys. Thank you. We have a lot of work to do.
There we go. Crazy. I think it's a birthday.
I know, third graders, third grade, you're getting here early. I love it. So next we will be moving on to the list of confirmations. Can I please have a motion to confirm John B. Skippa as the acting commissioner at the Department of Corrections?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Council?
I want to thank you for making this, bringing this forward, Governor. I have heard very good things and from many people throughout my district, and I want to say that, and I look forward to working with John Skippa.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Let me just add also, with Mr. Skippa taking on as acting commissioner, his position will still remain obviously open at the Police Standards and Training Council for him to return to that position, just as a matter so people will understand that. Any further discussion?
I would just, again, echo, thank you for your leadership, Governor. Thank you for the choice. I think it's a wonderful choice.
Thank you. We appreciate his willingness to serve here. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Catherine A. Keene of Concord as the Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Administrative Services?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Can I please, the motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Sherry L. Rockburn of Hopkinton as the Assistant Commissioner at the Department of Administrative Services?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? I personally want to thank Sherry for the work that she did to help me in the budget. So thank you for that. That was late nights and lots of work, so I appreciate it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Gary S. Lunetta of Hampton as the Division of Procurement and Support Services Director at the Department of Administrative Services?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Karen L. Rantamaki of BOW as the Division of Plant and Property Director at the Department of Administrative Services?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Can I please have a motion to confirm Brian Ballerino of Berlin as the Warden of the Northern New Hampshire Correctional Facility at the Department of Corrections?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Councilor Kenny.
Thank you, Governor. Brian is a well-known entity in the North Country, been a law enforcement officer for 25 years, served as cross-county sheriff for 7 years, as well as many boards along the way in law enforcement in his community. He served on the city council. There isn't a position in Cross County that probably Brian hasn't served in. I think he's an excellent choice by the amount of support and calls I got over the last few days. While we're going to lose a very good, excellent legislator, we'll gain an even better Berlin warden. So I think he's an excellent choice.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, I ask for a motion to adopt the consent calendar agenda. Any discussion or requests to remove items from the consent calendar? First, let's get the motion. Oh, I will move. And is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now, any items that you'd like to remove? I'm sorry, which one? 5F. 5F. Any further other motions?
I have 3, Governor.
Is Councilor Stevens?
1M, 5A, and 5E.
M, 5A and 5D?
E.
5A and 5E, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any further items? Okay, hearing none, I would ask all in favor of approving the consent calendar with the removal of 1M. Make sure you're there. 1M, 5A, 5E, and 5F. And if I miss one, please let me know. If not, all in favor of the remaining items, signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Now we will move to item 1M. Is there a motion? So moved. And a second.
Second for discussion.
Any discussion?
Yes. Commissioner,
Sit on the chair.
Good morning, Morgan Weaver, Health and Human Services Commissioner.
Hi, Commissioner. My only question here is, looking at this amount in this association, I just wanted to ask if we're also paying dollars to the New England State Commissioners Organization still. Am I correct on that?
Bill, can you say that
The
again?
NESCO group of all the commissioners that get together?
Correct.
And I'm not really supportive of this because of that affiliation with NESCO, and I don't think that, unless you can convince me otherwise, that this is necessary. Because NESCO gives you all the connections to all those New England states and to policy, to everything that, at least what I remember, you need to make any type of, best practice or knowledge base support. So tell me why I should support this when you also are a member of NESCO and you're the commissioner.
Yeah, they're actually not, there may be some overlap. There is a distinction with this particular group. It's been around since I could remember. And I can let Marie speak to the specifics, but for me as a commissioner, we have all of our New England states looking at child welfare practices specifically. And when we look at some of the cases that we've had recently that cross state lines, it's very important that we have that level of familiarity with our region and our directors. So NESCO does, yes, there's NESCO, there's NACHB, there's a bunch of different associations. They're not always focusing in specifically on child welfare like this group is. So it's access to resources, training, ability to address policy at a regional level, and I'll let Marie speak more, but from a commissioner, I think it's extremely valuable.
Good morning, Marie Donindi's wife, director. Absolutely. There are actually commissioners that sit on this group, so not every, like New Hampshire, where I'm a director under a commissioner, many of the other New England states have their own departments. So I don't believe that the other group that the Commissioner Weaver sits on also would have any child welfare oversight or responsibility. So the ability for this group to bring the leaders of all the child welfare agencies from across the New England region is instrumental in being able to talk through and be solution focused regarding high need acuity youth. It was the driver in the relationship and networking to execute a border agreement with the state of Massachusetts. It allows us the opportunity to bring training administrators together. Our legal directors have come together. We've had finance folks. So it really does allow the ability to forward our work in child welfare.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
The item carries. We now move to item 5A. Is there a motion on item 5A? Any discussion?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions. Thank you very much.
Commissioner, both commissioners. Here we go.
Good morning, Governor, Councilors. Dennis Goulet, Commissioner of the Department of Information Technology.
And Ken Merrifield, Commissioner of the Labor Department.
Hi, Commissioner and Commissioner. I don't know enough about this particular piece of software, and that I understand is working on a document management system. But I see that the design, development, and implementation, DDI phase, has been going on since 2020. And there's been a couple iterations, $500,000, and originally maybe $400,000, and now we're back here. But because there's been such a significant delay or something's going on here, I'd like to know what's left in terms of the funding. Why is this necessary? Are we going to be able to complete this? And are we going to be able? And have they been delivering on time? And I could not find that from this document.
You're correct, Counselor, in that the project has been delayed. And if I could characterize the reason for that, I think the largest reason is because there's been tremendous turnover at the vendor. And so a lot of knowledge has been lost as the team members have left the project. And so there has been a tremendous milestone in the project in that we replaced an entire legacy system that was responsible for our document management and workflow. So that legacy system has now been retired. That was the first milestone in the project. Since then, we have been migrating applications off our remaining legacy system, and that has been slow going. The problem for us right now is two very critical components on the legacy system are under development, and the contract ends July 1st. All of that effort will be lost if we don't add time to the development of those.
In follow-up, do you have enough in the funds to get to completion so we're not coming back to ask for new dollars?
Yes, I believe, and I would add too that our team is developing the skill set necessary to pick up to take over the project ourselves too.
I'm satisfied with that. Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor of item 5A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. Moving on to item 5E. Is there a motion and a second on item 5E from the Department of Revenue Administration? Second. Any discussion?
Couple of questions.
Commissioner?
Good morning, Lindsay Seth, Commissioner of the Department of Revenue.
Good morning, Commissioner. I just was looking at this contract since August of '23, and I know you're not asking for new dollars, but what I was not able to discern here is the vendor. First of all, there was $75 million or something that was backlogged, recoverable back in '23. There's now about 80. There's more. So we're continuing to grow. Companies own the state dollars. That concerns me.
Sure.
But I also like the arrangement of contingency funds here. I want to know, what have we given this vendor since 2023? Is it working? What have we given them for that 5% plus contingency?
Sure. So you're correct, Counselor, that the amount of outstanding debt that the department is attempting to collect has grown over the years. It has grown because revenues have also grown. So that would be a similar trend that we would see, right? As revenue grows, so does the amount of outstanding debt. At the end of fiscal year '24, we had about $90 million in outstanding debt. During fiscal year '24, our own collections division collected $30 million of debt. So internally, we have about a 30% collection rate, which is higher than industry standards. What we use this contract for is just another tool in the toolbox. So if our internal folks are not successful with collecting the money, then this contract with IC Systems gives us another tool that we can use to try to get taxpayers' attention. As you mentioned, we don't pay any money up front. They only retain the 5.74%. Their collection rates, I will be honest, are fairly low. They collect about $55,000 a year for us, but it is just helpful to have that additional tool. That would be $55,000 that we would not have collected.
So thank you for that. Just to follow up, because that's kind of what I was, in my mind, I was thinking that it's just not as effective as you want. So I guess this is a question for later, but maybe you can help me out. Is there a tool out there? Is there something that you can look to that has significant prioritization? They can focus on these collections. I know in the child support area, there's all kinds of tools nationally.
Correct.
Can you, at least in the future, give me some information about what we can do to recover that, at least a good portion? I appreciate the $30 million. I didn't know that, so thank you.
Right. You're welcome. And we'll have a new number once the fiscal year for '25 closes. We are constantly in discussions with other states that collect tax revenues and tips and tools and services that they may have available that could help us with our collection as well. And so we're constantly keeping our eye on things in the industry that could be helpful. And to the extent that we find something, we would certainly bring it before the council.
Follow up with me on that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Thank you, Commissioner. Then all in favor of item 5E, thank you, signify by saying aye. Aye. Now we'll take up item 5F. Is there a motion and a second on item 5F?
Yes.
Any discussion? Councilor Wheeler.
Morning, Governor, Councilors, Jared Ciccone, Department of Energy.
Morning. I just had a couple of questions here. It looks like this contract's just about 4 years old now. Can you give us an update on the progress here? Why the extra money, and when is this going to be completed? Where we're at with this project, please?
Sure, thank you for the question. Just to give everyone some background, the Renewable Energy Fund is the source of funding for this grant, and that's in statute. And there's a policy directive in the law that we're to grant these funds to incent certain types of renewable generation. That's what this project is. I believe originally The grant award was made in 2021, just prior to the creation of the department. And since that time, the project has faced delays. Early on, part of that was related to COVID and supply chain issues and a number of other factors. And we encountered that with these types of projects over the last several years. So when a grantee asks for an extension, we review that to make sure it sounds reasonable. And in this instance, they're asking for another extension of time because of testing of the system and the availability of the contractors on the plumbing, etc. So we try as an agency to make sure that these grantees meet the milestones and complete the project. So that's where they're at. They're telling us that they could not get this done by June 30th and requested the extension, and they're saying they will have it done at that time.
Thank you.
Councilor Kennedy.
I've been to this company several times over the years. They make furniture for college dormitories and for government offices and military installation offices. They do great quality work. But this project has been hanging out there for quite a long time. And so earlier on, when I saw extensions to this project, it said that we would be saving $390,000 a year in energy costs. You can factor in that, you give them 3 years, the first year it's installed, they lost over $1 million on energy costs. So how is the department or officials, at the federal level, trying to help out this company to kind of maneuver through these obstacles? Because this seems like a lengthy bit of time to put in a boiler.
Thank you for the question. If a grantee requests help from us navigating an issue, we've experienced this with other projects where they need a waiver from a federal agency to purchase equipment that's compliant with federal law, right? And we have worked with grantees to do that. So in this situation, DCI did not approach us for help with these issues, but we're always willing and happy to help if we can.
So as it stands right now, that particular boiler or heating system is not operational right now?
Not yet.
Okay. And they need electrical and they need plumbing work. Is 6 months going to be enough time for them to complete the job?
They're telling us that that's the case. Josh can speak a little bit, Josh with me, just about what the next piece of this is with the testing, and then they have to certify that they're going to be able to mint renewable energy certificates as part of this. So that's another piece of this. I don't know if there's anything you can add, Josh, on that. That's it.
Okay. I know the company, I know the owner, they do great work, but this has really been hung out here too long. And as taxpayers who give their money to these type of grant programs, they want to see them initiated, they want to see them completed. More importantly, they want to see the company prosper, save energy costs, and to move forward. So that's just my editorial for today, but I just think it's important that we stay on top of these companies that are using this program and trying to help them and make sure they complete, these, as you call it, these energy fund programs. So that's all I want to say.
Appreciate that, Council. So we'll do that and continue to work with them closely.
Get it done. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of item 5F signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. Thank you. I believe that covers those that were moved from the consent agenda, and now we're moving on to the regular agenda. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 6 through 21A from the Department of Transportation. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just one comment.
Councilor Stevens?
I read number 9, and I thought of you, Governor, and I think this is related to push for expedited permitting process.
Yes, and they're doing a lot of that.
And I just want to publicly say thank you for doing this. I know this is important to the governor as well as my own constituents. And all I want to say is I appreciate this whole movement to make sure we're efficient for our contractors, our developers, and the people that need housing and other supports in our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Governor Ayotte set a high bar, and he's been working hard to try to accomplish this.
Appreciate that, Commissioner.
Councilor Wheeler.
Yeah, I also have a compliment on item 13, starting to purchase backhoes on a rotating basis, and not lease them anymore. And thank you for your taking this direction and saving the taxpayers a lot of money by outright purchasing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Councilor Stevens, did I see you had your hand up?
Yes. Thank you very much for getting those suicide detention signs placed on the I-95 bridge. And I applaud the governor for launching what is going to be a subcommittee to discuss suicide deterrent systems on the bridge. And to be clear, there is no bridge design components from Ashato, which is the governing design authority, correct, for transportation infrastructure, Ashato? That they do not, in terms of suicide deterrence.
I think there are systems out there. I don't think it's a requirement or one necessary standard.
Knowing the height of the rails at this point, they're 4 feet. So at a minimum, when moving forward with this project, it's going to be a minimum of 8 feet to 10 feet, correct?
That's, we can do a feasibility study to see what type of barrier or railing or things would be up there. What's up there today is designed for motor vehicle detention. It doesn't really accommodate or hasn't really been in plans for any type of pedestrian or other barricades, but that's exactly what we'll be looking at.
And to follow up, we'll be looking at safety crash testing, evaluation of the added weight to the bridge, and the ability for DOT to continue inspections, correct?
Exactly. The weight and things like that, and accessibility for inspection, those are all why we wanted to make sure that we did a thorough feasibility assessment to make sure all those aspects are considered and addressed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Vera.
Thank you. I'm glad to see the agenda items for the rail, the transit providers. My district is quite rural, like Councilor Kenny's, and the intercity transit is, the intercity service is particularly important. We folks that transit within our communities here in Concord and the Upper Valley, and the intercity as well is really important. So I'm really pleased to see these moving forward. I wanted to also thank your department and Shelley Winters in particular for helping the city of Lebanon work out an issue with the rail provider that's there, so that we can continue working on extending the rail trail at Massillon River Greenway in Lebanon, which connects Lebanon and West Lebanon, and has been an important priority for the community for a long time. So I appreciate the work of your department in making that happen.
Thank you for recognizing that. I appreciate that.
Councilor Stevens.
In regards to agenda item 21A, I'm going to be voting no in opposition to this contract. As a public official entrusted with protecting the health, safety, and well-being of our communities, I cannot, in good conscience, support the approval of a lease agreement involving state-owned property with an individual who is admitted to leading a major interstate drug trafficking and money laundering operation. At the time, the Department of Justice, led by now Governor Ayotte, reported that there were less than 10 individuals who had been convicted in New Hampshire of a charge of being a drug enterprise leader. Mr. Bouchard's conviction as a drug enterprise leader, one of the most serious charges in New Hampshire law, underscores the scale, duration, and sophistication of his criminal enterprise. His network trafficked thousands of pounds of marijuana and multiple kilograms of cocaine into our state. directly fueling addiction, violence, and long-term harm in our communities. These are not victimless crimes. These are offenses that tear at the fabric of our society, particularly in the midst of a public health crisis by substance use disorder. Mr. Bouchard also admitted to laundering drug proceeds through real estate and business acquisitions, creating complex layers of criminal activity that conceal illegal gains and undermine the integrity of legitimate commerce. The properties in question, some which have been forfeited as part of his plea, were purchased using the profits of drug enterprise funds. Public resources and public lands must never be used to legitimize or reward those who have built their fortunes by harming others and undermining the rule of law. For this reason, I vote no on the proposed lease and will continue to advocate for decisions that uphold the transparency, accountability, and the public interest. Thank you.
Councilor Kenny.
Thank you, Governor. Item 14, Commissioner, this is the contract to remove beacon lights at the Berlin airport. And trying to understand the rationale, is it because we're trying to modernize the airport with upgraded, signaling devices. Obviously, these beacons are kind of old and antiquated. But is there any replacement, any safety replacement with other types of signal lighting?
I think they are going to be looking at that. The specific contract, specific FAA grant is to look at removing those beacons. They are in disrepair and moving before they become dysfunctional and become an aircraft obstruction. I'm presuming, I don't know for certain if there is in their airport improvement plan plans for replacement or immediate upgrade, but I can double check that. But this contract, there isn't anything in this contract in terms of replacing them. This is just to remove them before they become an obstruction.
And my follow-up question is, do we have enough lighting here for safety purposes? The land aircraft that you're using, that they'll be able to navigate?
Yes.
And it's not really required for that to happen?
That's correct. Yeah, I think they're 20+ years old. There are newer navigation and stuff in place as well, too.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of items 6 through 21A?
Aye.
But 21A,
I'll go along with Councilor Stevens on 21A.
okay. The items carry. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 22 from the Office of the Governor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Kenny.
Governor.
Believe. Thank you. We've got the Commissioner of Education here for me.
Good morning. For the record, Frank Gale, the Commissioner of Education.
You still have to look over my shoulder to see if you're still there. Good morning, Commissioner. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Is the school year going to wrap up here?
We are closing out strong.
Okay. So I'm trying to, this program's been around for years, and a very good program, very much needed, for first responders, physical schools and so forth, but active shooter drills and so forth. But I wanted to know the funding that was left over after 2+ years. What happened? How did this funding appear? And do we know the names of the schools that was picked? Because a lot of these schools that are going to be improved, they're not scattered around the state, they're kind of specific to one area of the state. So I'm trying to get a feel for how you kind of put this together.
Yeah, so just to be clear, it's not one program. We have consistently in the state of New Hampshire been investing in the safety of our schools. Since 2018, we've invested over $50 million. And during that period of time, no money has gone unused And in fact, the character of this particular item is to make sure that the funds are returned and not redeployed. So essentially what this item that you're looking at here, which has been fiscal, it essentially does is, in 2022, we received about $10 million of ARPA funds. We allocated that out to the schools. In the 24-25 period, I got another $10 million of education trust fund dollars to be deployed for safety projects. And in fact, in the current budget, I'm requesting another $10 million to continue our investment in the safety of our schools. Some of the schools that received funds in the 2022 ARPA grant either did not spend them or spent less than they anticipated, so there was remaining funds. Those were federal funds. It's $271,000. Those funds, if they don't get deployed, would have to be returned to the feds. But simultaneously, because I have multiple tranches of funding running, I had schools that received funding in the 24 tranche, and they spent those funds before the deadline for the ARPA funds. And so all we're doing in this item is changing the source of funds for some of the grants that were awarded under the ARPA funds so that we can fully utilize all of the $271,000, and then those $271,000 will be available to re-grant to schools. So we're basically preserving the federal grant through this process.
So a follow-up to that is, of all the schools that applied, what percentage received funding?
So all schools were allowed to make application, and in the 24 tranche that we made available to the schools, we specifically went out to school districts that had not requested any funds and prioritized them. So anyone who asked for funding was awarded those funds. I would have to go back and find out if there are any schools that have never applied for any funds. But if there are, they would be a very small number, and it's because they probably did not need those funds.
Okay.
Counselor?
Follow-up question on that. So everyone was eligible to apply, and how many actually did apply?
It was a question, so I don't know if there's a school that never applied. I can get that information for you and send it out to you.
It's notable that in this particular list that we're looking at today, most of the schools are in Nashua.
So what is it? Yeah, so essentially what we've done is, so Nashua and Guilford, who are on that list, they received 24 grants, and they did a good job, and they spent their money right away. And so they spent their money before the ARPA funds were even spent by some schools. So what we did is we just went back and found 24 grants that added up to the amount of unspent ARPA funds, and we're going to change the source of funds for them to be able to preserve those funds going forward.
That's great. Thank you.
Counselor Stevens?
And thank you for clarifying this, as we have gone back and forth on this. But in the first round, which was that initial disbursement of $3.9 million, Nashua received over $281,000. So in essence, this makes sense at this point, how you are supplanting the funds. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, just trying to preserve the funds, not let them lapse and return.
Any further discussion? And Commissioner, I want to thank you for your leadership on this. This is a very important issue, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor of item 22, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 23 through 26 from the Department of Information Technology.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
I have a question on 26.
Councilor Stevens. Commissioner Goulet.
Hi, Commissioner. I think you may need the assistance of Commissioner Weaver, but I'll let you decide. We're talking about source of funding here.
Sure.
So my concern, I'll outline it right now. In 2016 on, I know that this is probably you're going to say this is an important information management system in public health. Get that. 2016, we started down this road, I think it was somewhere around $600,000. We then went to 2020, asked for another 472,000. We keep saying that this is the only software system, that we need to continue to contract with them to maintain, which is another concern I have, because we buy software and we never say, well, until recently, the generals told me that our contracts do say we own the software, which is great, but we didn't in this case. But my concern on this contract is, every time Commissioner Myers, Commissioner Chauvinet came to this body, it was 100% federal dollars. This is to maintain a public health system. CDC has an obligation. In one of the contracts, in fact, CDC said they wanted you to do upgraded reporting. You did. We put $7,500 into that. Tell me why this is 90-some-odd% general fund at the time. We need to make sure we preserve our general fund.
Thank you for the question. My name is Trish Tilley. I'm the Associate Commissioner at the department. Thank you. So this is a reflection of some of the reductions that we have had in federal funds. This was primarily funded by something called a biomonitoring grant at times. We no longer have that biomonitoring grant. And so it is a critical system. We would go back to pencil and paper. It manages the way that we communicate with the folks that are sending in specimens and how we process them and then send information back to the sender. So it is a system that we absolutely must have. What you're seeing right now is the maintenance of it. There's no more build. You'll also see that there's a reduction. We have no funds for enhancements anymore. This is simply to maintain the ability to electronically communicate with those who are sending in samples and then us sending them the results back.
So, as a follow-up, are you suggesting that other vacant positions over at Public Health that have federal dollars attached to it that can be transferred to this contract?
There are not at this time. We don't have those funds. What we have done, as you know, we received an $80 million clawback. This was not part of that $80 million clawback. This was the end of the grant, and the grant was simply ended. It was not renewed. We do not have funds that we can move into this. We have taken everything that we can to sort of take the Jenga of all our funding sources to try and patch this together so we can maintain the system. We will always prioritize using federal funds when we have them available.
So I'm going to ask that you go and give one more chance to look at. In my opinion, I'm going to move to table. The counselors and my colleagues can decide what they want to do, because I did move to table one contract you're able to find Medicaid funding for, and I would like you to go back to CDC and ask if there's additional dollars, because I don't think any of those funds, unless you tell me otherwise, that CDC has cut back funds, CDC in general, with regard to these type of public health responses and systems across the country.
Well, I can tell you that the funds that were supported for this is our biomonitoring grant. We no longer have it. We have not received any new NOFOs or opportunities for new funding in this area. So we can go back and look, but I can tell you there are no magic federal funding sources for this at this time that we are aware of. It's not like Medicaid. We simply don't have the resources from CDC. As you may know, our communications with CD have also been pretty halted and limited as the federal government goes through its transitions.
And I respect that. I know that there's an issue with that communication, but I'm asking for a time where you could go and investigate, and at least ask CDC if they would come back and be able to provide some dollars with this monitoring system that you have in place that also is something that they're requiring your states to do.
We can do that. I'm just not very confident that we're going to find anything.
I respect that. I'm going to make a motion to table this until we can at least know that you've had correspondence with CDC.
I can second that.
Okay, look, we've got a motion and a tabling on the table. All in favor of tabling?
Well, I'm going to ask for a point of order before we vote on this, please, and I don't know if someone needs to answer this. If we use Robert's Rules of Order, then it is the case that you cannot speak and make a motion to table at the same time. You have to allow other people to speak first. I appreciate that you're interested in tabling. I would like to ask a question prior to voting on the table. Okay, thank you. What would be the impact of tabling this at this time?
If we brought this back within 2 weeks, we could do that. We could provide that information for you. We certainly need this system. We need the system to be maintained over time. Again, the option otherwise, if we didn't have it, is to go back to pencil and paper, which I don't think is sufficient for anyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions before we have a motion and a second on tabling on the table? We take a vote on that. All in favor of tabling, signify aye.
Aye.
The item is tabled. We will look for the information, but we'll be sure to take it up at our next meeting. But we also have not had a motion confirming the remaining items here, so all in favor of items 23, 24, and 25 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carry. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 27 from the Community Development Finance Authority.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Councilor Cool.
Hi, Katie Easterly Marte, the Community Development Finance Authority. Good morning.
So this one has kind of grabbed my attention a little bit. It is in my district. This is a affordable housing project in downtown Wakefield.
Yes.
So I actually went online last night, looked at this house or apartments, as you would see. So the question I think that jumps out at us, it's a $2.3 million project for 4 rental units. Is this on a historical registry list of some kind, or why wouldn't we knock it down and build a wonderful new facility with that kind of money that's involved?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. There is commercial space involved in this, which is a requirement of that district. So they're maintaining and renovating the commercial space. And unfortunately, the nature of this property sitting on the corner in the old downtown Whitefield, it wouldn't allow for a rebuild. So like many places, if this was taken down, there would actually be a vacancy on the corner there, which starts to deteriorate commercial value in the downtown area and would have significant impact across the entire town.
So out of those 4 rental units, where would they park?
There's parking in the rear of the building.
There's parking there. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of item 27, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 28 from the Department of Revenue Administration.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Councilor Lee.
I think the last time Commissioner Stepp was here was actually with her child who was visiting. It was awesome, which was great. Thank you so much, Commissioner. It's not often that we have you here in our council meetings. While you're here, I think you have one of the most difficult jobs in state government, possibly these days. Can you give us an update on the status of revenue?
Sure. So we are through 3/4 or more of the fiscal year, with April revenue coming in. I will say generally March revenues looked promising, and April revenues for business taxes came in lower than we had hoped. So at this point, during the month of May is typically a lower revenue month, and so our next kind of data point that will be coming in will be business tax estimates coming in June. And so we'll be keeping a close eye on what those look like as we continue to work on revenue projections for the next biennium.
Thank you.
It looks like we have a class here too. Virginia?
Hello, Governor. We have the Horn Street School from Dover.
Well, that's great. Welcome. Welcome to the State House.
How's everybody doing today? I'm your executive counselor. And what is the real name of your school?
Elementary School
at Horn Street. Because you know that the lady that your school is named after was a rock star and a longtime public servant in Dover. And you guys should be so proud that you go to that school with her name on it. So live up to her expectations and do great things in life. And you're here at the State House, and you guys are going to replace us someday in these seats, okay? So we have a lot of homework for you here when you get here, okay? So So we're just kind of a board of directors that helps out the governor of New Hampshire, kind of run the executive branch. How many branches of government are there? 3. You got it.
Well
Good.
done.
Smart class. There you go. So we're in the executive branch, and we help out the governor. And how would you like to meet the governor? Does anybody know that? Who can name the governor? What's the governor's name?
Bellier.
There you go. And so we have 5 executive councils. Councilor Leah Hill from Lebanon, Councilor Stevens from the Seacoast Rye, Councilor Stevens from Manchester, Councilor David Wheeler from Milford. So there's 5 of us. I'm your Councilor Joe Kenny. So why don't you guys line right up
I'd
there?
love to give you all a high five if you're coming by so I can say hi.
So you want to meet the governor, right? You want to shake her hand, right? See you guys. Okay. No difference from third, fourth.
All of our work that we're doing today is we got to piles and piles of work.
What's that? What? You're not feeling it? No? You're in shock this whole day?
You're about to do it probably.
Well, you'd be more shocked. There's no water in the Jenny Thompson pool. Good to see you. You're the grown-ups. I hope. Oh my God, there's a lot of grown-ups.
Good to see you.
Hi.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
When it's getting done, it's always get a handshake.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Good to see
Are there any further questions for Commissioner Stepp? Otherwise, I would ask for approval.
Yes, I thought you were talking about the items. Commissioner, this is $40,000 general fund, again, for public relations, and I guess I'm wanting to know, does the Department of Revenue have their own communications or public affairs or anything like that? Is that why you're asking for this?
That's correct. We don't have our own internal public affairs or public relations, so that's why we contract for these services. I will say Montane Powers does a great job of taking our tax geek speak and putting it into words that are more easily consumed by the public. And so they do a really nice job of helping us get out messages. 2 examples of recent messages that they've helped us with. One has been the repeal of the interest and dividends tax. We really wanted to make sure that New Hampshire residents knew not to pay estimated payments for the interest and dividends tax. I didn't want to collect money in the state that was ultimately owed back to them. So we had a pretty substantial press campaign relative to that. And then also, back in December, we did a campaign which was an education effort around the state's timber tax, because that's ultimately paid by the landowners, but the folks that are most well-versed in that are the loggers or the foresters that do the cutting. And so we had seen instances where landowners didn't fully understand the timber tax, and so we had an educational campaign around that. And I was just notified yesterday that we actually received a national award for that campaign in terms of our education to the taxpayers. So Montane Powers helps us substantially, like I said, communicate in easy-to-understand language and help get our message out in the media.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. All in favor of item 28, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries.
No?
I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 29 from the Judicial Council.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 30 from the Department of Military Affairs and Veteran Services.
So moved.
Any discussion? Councilor Leo Hill.
Deputy Adjutant General, my name is Nicole Desley Bixler from the Department of Military Affairs and Veteran Services.
Good morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning.
Thank you. It is Memorial Day weekend this weekend, and I wanted to extend happy Memorial Day and thanks to all who are currently serving. And could you tell us what what events are happening this weekend?
Yes, ma'am. At the Veterans Cemetery, well, actually on May 30th, so it's not actually on the weekend, and we've done that by design. We have a memorial service at the Veterans Cemetery that we'd like to extend an invitation to all of you to come. And yeah, so there are several events all over the state. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of item 30, signify by saying aye. Aye. The item carries. Thank you. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 31 through 42 from the Department of Agricultural Markets and Foods. Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
No, 42.
The items carry. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 42A from the Insurance Department. So moved. Any discussion?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Counselor Stephen?
Good morning, Governor, members of the council.
Thank you, Commissioner. And appreciate you trying to get back to me. I know you were working with the family last night, so.
No worries.
I have a question on this contract itself because there are a couple issues. One, I'm concerned about any assessment, any type of consulting service that in the end may drive up insurance rates for the consumers. And if we're looking at extending benefits, and that's what the purpose of this research is, do you agree with me that in the end, one of the possible outcomes here is that the insurance rates are going to go up for everyone?
So one of the things that we're looking to do with this contract is to avoid that very thing. So this is a federally funded opportunity for us. It was first put forward under the Biden administration, who I think had a vision to invite states to layer on additional benefits and mandates into their essential health plan, which is obviously, they were going to take a very generous interpretation of when defrail would apply in that situation. The Trump administration is obviously now taking office, and they have indicated that they're going to more stringently enforce EHBs and ensure that states who have gone over and above the definition of that are going to be subject to defrail. When that happens, the state has to pay the insurer for the cost of that mandate. That's a general fund appropriation. So one of the focuses that this grant is going to help us to identify is to clean up our EHBs to make sure that they are in line with what the federal government is expecting to ensure that we're not subject to defrail and seeing money have to come out of the general fund at a time when we're looking for every dollar we can find.
I mean, I have a hard time with the title and then looking at the objective is expanding access. And I get the fact that we need to work hard on access, but I just want to make sure that the commercial insurance rates at the end are not increased. They're just to a point where people can't afford it. The other issue I have, the other concern I have is, I mean, was there any attempt in negotiating to lower the rate card in this? I mean, I'm looking at rates of $620 an hour for 15 hours, $555 an hour for 60 hours, $450 an hour. The rates here, can you get anything that's a lot less expensive than paying this company at rates that I think in New Hampshire are some of the highest I've seen?
So a couple of things there to your first point. No one is more concerned about the cost of insurance than I am, because I believe fundamentally that cost and expense is one of the biggest barriers to access to care. So we're not going to be doing anything as a result of this work that's going to cause upward pressure on premiums. Michelle Heaton is here. She's the head of our Life and Health Division. She was a member of the scoring team. What I can tell you is that there were a number of vendors who were immediately set aside, scored very low in the bidding process because of their rate. And this one, believe it or not, was one of the better ones that we received. out of 13 bidders that ended up submitting a proposal for consideration.
Yeah, so price was one of the portions that we did score in the RFP, and there's a number of factors that went in it. It's not just the bottom line price. There is a do not exceed amount in this contract, and they have agreed to that. So even if they do go beyond the billable hours, they will not be able to bill more than what the do not exceed amount is. But there are a number of factors, and we agree that these rates are high, and part of that is because of the very specialized knowledge this group has. And because they had such good experience and knowledge on these specific issues, we think it's the most efficient use of that money. Some of the other bidders have some experience in these areas, but it would take them more hours to get up to speed to do this work. So in balancing that, that's how we scored it. But ultimately, the price was, I believe, 10 points in the score.
Are you suggesting that this type of study, access to health services, cannot be done at lower rates than $650 an hour?
Part of this is very actuarially heavy, so we do need actuaries to weigh in on it. And even within the realm of actuaries, there's some that really specialize in reviewing benchmark plans and these types of benefits that we're looking at. So that's why they have that very specialized knowledge there. Some of the other work doesn't require an actuary, and usually those hours are a little bit less. But we're trying to get the most bang for our buck here, so we are balancing a lot of those different things.
Thank you.
Councilor Stevens.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
It
Councilor.
was a pleasure speaking with you yesterday, Commissioner, as
Likewise.
always. So the grant source for this program is Expanding Access to Women's Health Grant. And expanding potentially essential health benefits. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal is potentially to hold insurers accountable.
That's correct. That's correct.
We know that there are 10 key categories that need to be addressed, correct?
That's correct.
As you and I discussed, one of the biggest challenges in our state right now is postpartum follow-up care, postpartum depression. As you and I discussed, bone density testing for mature women is a battle with insurers, along with new guidelines for the use of ultrasound with mammography. The insurers are fighting it every step of the way. So I applaud you for bringing this forward because it's tough for our consumers.
Absolutely. And one of the things that the grant will also look to do is to help us understand and work with our insurance carriers to make sure that they're making it clear to women. And again, for me personally, a big priority of the department is mental health. I will say that I think largely as a society, we have a lot of work to do to support moms in that postpartum phase. And we want to understand how, again, our carriers can make sure they're getting that information to that mother, getting somebody assigned from a case manager. How does that process work? Is it clear? How are they explaining the array of services that are available to them to ensure that they are getting the support that they need? There's also a parity component to this as well. Obviously, everything related to the actual delivery of the child, all of the things that go into the 9-month process, that's all medical surgical. But again, that mental health piece, I think, is so important. And we want to make sure that we are doing our work as a state to enforce MAPIA and to ensure that the benefits on the mental health side are lining up with what is there on the medical surgical side. So there's a lot of opportunities here for us to do some important work, I think, in an area where I think has been lacking careful analysis for some time.
Well done.
Thank you.
If I can just follow up, Governor, that we've recently approved millions of dollars in postpartum care, home visiting grants. We've gone through HHS. We've done a lot to help moms out there. And those, I'll bet you if you look at and dissect the rates that they're getting, it may be $50 an hour. I'm just really concerned when the evaluators are looking at this, Commissioner, that they're not trying to renegotiate on some reasonable rates. That's a concern. And I take your point about this won't expand premiums in your opinion. I hope that's the case if this were to pass.
We will not be moving forward with anything that's going to put upward pressure on premiums. There's a lot of work that can be done to plug gaps, enhance our system, enhance access to care that's not going to result in premium increases.
Thank you.
Councilor Stevens.
Let's be clear, these are critical diagnostic studies, correct?
That is correct.
Our insurers have tried to, phase out age categories for pap smears. So they're not offering this. It's a battle, correct?
It is a bit of a battle, yes, Council, that's correct. And I think one of the most important things that we can do as regulators is to ensure that we are setting clear expectations, consistent expectations, and in this case, a clear definition of the newborn benefit within the essential health benefit realm to ensure that our carriers understand what's expected of them, and that we're going to look at how they're fulfilling those obligations and holding them accountable to them.
Thank you.
Councilor Leocal.
Thank you. People who have just given birth are extremely vulnerable, and I appreciate the targeting resources into looking at this in a fiscally responsible way. I support this.
Council, I'll just say I work hard not to ever personalize any of this. But I will tell you that my own wife, where two of our three children suffered greatly with postpartum depression. And it was one of the most painful and hopeless feelings you can have as a spouse to watch them go through that. And fortunately for us, we were able to figure out how to get her on a path and get her the help that she needed, the support that she needed, and we got her out of that difficult phase. But I have great fear for great estaters who do not have the background in insurance that we did. So I want to make sure that they understand how to access the system, what services are available, and how they can get those services in as expedient a manner as possible.
Councilor Stevens.
We have discussed access to data, and you said you would take it on. You didn't want me setting out, was trying to figure it out. But can we track and receive data on what insurers and their denial rates for some of these critical women's health care services?
So we have a team that looks at every plan that comes through. We'll look at that as part of our qualified health plan process, which is a responsibility the federal government gives to the states to ensure that all of the plans are in compliance with the ACA, so we can look at it that way. We also have access to the All Claims database, which the department maintains, so we can see, number one, which plans are offering which benefits, which is obviously a good point of information to know, but also, very importantly, how often those codes are being billed, which is an indication of how frequently those services are being accessed.
Denials as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor of item 42A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
The item fails. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 42 and 43 from the Department of Labor.
So moved. Okay.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I believe it's 43, 44, just to put right there. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 45 from the New Hampshire Department of New Hampshire Employment Security.
So moved. Second. And I do have a question.
Mr. Pettis.
Morning, Governor, councilors. Good morning. Good morning, well.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Commissioner.
Sure.
The recruitment of people as first responders, specifically as EMTs, is where we have a critical shortage of EMTs in our state. And it looks like this has been a promising program. Can you tell us how?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's been a tremendous success. We've partnered with the Department of Safety. Buddy Bob went over there, and we've done a great job with it. All the providers were from New Hampshire. They were through the Department of Safety. This program started, was approved by the Governor and Council back in November of 22. So it was a 2-year program. Became real popular. We initially was funded through ARPA funds, and what the contract you see before you today is for us to take an additional $128,000 from our admin funds to pay for the ones that are outstanding at this point in time. We have one more coming in June for $17,000. But, you know, it's total right now is like 399 EMTs. That'd be the past, basic, advanced, or both. Excuse me.
That is really tremendous and really a great example of departments working together to really make a difference in our state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Stevens.
Congratulations on a tremendously successful program. My little sleepy town of Atkinson, our fire chief was here today. They're receiving $22,000. They have run with this program. They have onboarded 50 EMS providers. So I can tell you in my district, it's been a huge success.
That's terrific news. It's a great partnership, and like I said, with safety and, you know, and all the fire departments we've worked with, I mean, it's just been a tremendous outreach, and we've had a tremendous response, all positive, and became very, very popular. So we're happy we were able to do this and participate in it.
Well done, Commissioner.
Thank you so much.
Any further?
I echo that sentiment.
Councilor Stevens.
I echo that sentiment. 339 T certified. Excellent job.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of item 45, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. Thank you, Commissioner. Ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 46 through 56 from the Department of Energy.
So moved.
Any discussion? Councilor Wheeler.
I have some questions on 46 and 47.
Commissioner?
Governor, Councilors, Chair Chicoine, Department of Energy.
Good morning again, Commissioner. It seemed to me, like reading through these items, that they were a little bit vague. I think need a little more explanation of where this money is going. Are there other groups involved in the training? And then, are we going to work with any groups, like volunteer groups that do training directly?
Thank you for the question. I'm going to ask Josh to come up and speak to that.
Good morning, Governor, Executive Councilors. For the record, Josh Elliott, Director of the Division of Policy and Programs at the Department of Energy. So, Councilor, to answer your question, right now this application is working its way through the U.S. DOE processes. We have proposed working with the Community College System of New Hampshire, where they have existing programs that are similar to the weatherization, doing energy audits and things like that. So to leverage those existing systems and classroom courses and activities that they already have to sort of fully round out their offerings.
Councilor?
Does any of this have to do with training people to, you know, how to do solar energy and that sort of stuff themselves?
No, it's more how to, if there's somebody who needs to be trained up for to join the workforce to be able to do these energy efficiency measures, for example. Whether it's plumbing installation, or you could have somebody who's, you know, fresh off the street who doesn't have any background in it, to somebody who may be looking to upskill. They're an installer now, and they want to be an energy auditor, for example. So it's a way to scale up existing workforce as well.
Both items use college, 47 and 46 and 47, there's no like community loan fund or anything like that?
So on item number 47, we've proposed working with the community college system, specifically Lakes Region Community College System. With item 46, this is something where we would go out to bid for a private contractor who would be our implementer, who would be the person, the entity existing, working back and forth with either the members of the public in order to access this program, as well as with the installers and contractors who are looking to do this kind of work.
And that contract will come back to this table?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any further discussions? Any further discussion on the energy items? If not, all in favor of items 46 through 56, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items carry. Ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 57 for the banking department.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The item carries. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 58 through 62 from the Department of Business and Economic Affairs.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Councilor Kenny? Commissioner?
Good afternoon, Taylor Kensel, VA.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. I did have a question on benefit D. We're going to accept and expend over $12 million for this infrastructure investment on that broadband equity access and deployment funds. Continue supporting the improvement of the state of New Hampshire broadband infrastructure program. Can you tell me where this money is going to be deployed as far as, I didn't see any maps here that said this is part of the state that is what this investment.
Yeah, so on the broadband picture, it's sort of a broad picture, if you know. We started with, under ARPA, the Capital Projects Fund. That was the 2 contracts that we did at that time to get what we expected to be a pretty significant portion of the addresses that did not currently have access to high-speed internet. So that's about 50 to 60,000 addresses. We are now 2 years into that contract, and we are making some significant progress with that. So we just this spring slipped over 99% access in New Hampshire for high-speed internet with those funds. What you're seeing here is a separate pot of money that we were allocated as part of the infrastructure legislation that Congress passed back in 2021, I think it was. They allocated a total of $191 million to New Hampshire for continued broadband expansion. So that is coming in small bits as we go through a rather bureaucratic process with the Department of Commerce to continue to meet their requirements and thresholds as we go along. Right now, the purpose of that funding, or what we have requested those funds for, is to complete the work of what we will finish after we finish with the ARPA funding. So once that's done, we will be able to get the state to 100% access to high-speed internet with the remaining funds under the BEAD program, which is the infrastructure. So what you're seeing here, this $12 million, is part of the administrative cost and of completing the build-out plan. So you have to have a plan with all these different providers, Comcast, New Hampshire Electric Cooperative, Consolidated, and so on, to finish up those locations. That's what this funding is for. We recently reached a threshold within the NTIA process that enables us to basically draw down these funds. We'll use it for that purpose. Once we have that in place, we submit all the final documents, we hope that they'll be able to release additional funds for our final addresses of the state. One last thing I would add, Councilor, is that we are in the midst of changes in the current administration. So the Trump administration has held off issuing us our final program notices for that BEAD program. So they are taking a new look at this. We are hopeful that what they will come up with is a final product that will be far more flexible for us to be able to use these funds to continue to do this work. So all that is really sort of just an update on where things stand, but that's, I think, where we are right now.
So my original question was, this is not really directed at any specific projects on a map?
Not yet.
Work, not yet, okay. This is more administrative?
It's administrative and planning and working with FCC and with those organizations to make sure that we have the correct. We had to go through this whole process. We could go deep on this. It's really frustrating, to be honest with you. We had to do these what are called fabric IDs, which is basically associating a GPS address with every single address in New Hampshire, report that to the FCC, have the FCC approve that. Then the FCC went out and had this challenge process that we had to run at their behest, that a program that they had to approve. Then when we ran the challenge process, each company gets to say whether or not they think they have service already at that location, and then the FCC judges through this process whether or not that's the case, and then we come to a final product. This has been going on like this for probably 18 months. So it is, unfortunately, a frustrating process. I'm hopeful that the new administration will change that from this point forward so that we can get this job done and be done with it.
Well, we head into Pittsburgh this summer. we'll be checking out our broadband.
The picture of broadband is good, in Pittsburgh is good right now.
I love that. Councilor Learfield.
Well, I was just going to say that I suspect the remaining homes that do not have connectivity are probably in either Councilor Kennedy's or my district. So I'm glad to see that we're.
That's where they all were to begin with as well, yes.
Exactly. So this is good news. And access, of course, is not just the physical infrastructure, though, it's also the cost. And I think that still remains a barrier for a lot of people. You can still have the wires to your house, but if you can't afford it, there are still a lot of people who really don't have the same access that others do in our state. So glad to see us making forward progress on this. Thank you.
Councilor Stevens.
So, of the $196 million that we received in the BEAD program, we're left with $179 million at this time, correct?
That's right.
So potentially, we're waiting to hear from DC if we can use those funds for the 10,000 additional homes. And these are the hardest to get to, correct?
Yes,
So it's the non-deployment funds that are being held up, correct?
that's correct, yes.
Okay. Well, I want to congratulate you because when we approved the contracts with the New Hampshire Electric Co-op and Consolidated Communications, the goal was 48,000 homes. And I confirmed yesterday with your team, we've now reached 33,000 homes. And Consolidated will be done this summer. And New Hampshire Electric Co-op, summer of 2026. And we're much lower than Massachusetts still, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? And Commissioner, we're hoping to be first in the nation on 100%, right?
That's my goal.
All right, that's our goal. We love that. Thank you.
Well done, Commissioner.
All in favor of the item, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all the items, 58 through 62, I should say.
Home and 61.
Thank you. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 63 through 69 in the Fish and Game Department. So moved. Is there any discussion? Councilor Kennedy.
Item 66.
Good afternoon, Governor, Executive Council members. Stephanie Smith, Director of the Hampshire Fish and Game, and I have Jim.
Jim Ayler, Wildlife Habitat Program Supervisor.
Right. Thank you, Director. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So this is a big project up in Milan, purchase conservation areas of close to 800 acres. And so I want to kind of zoom in on the stewardship plan. Who's going to be in charge of the stewardship plan, and is there local involvement in that stewardship plan?
Yeah, the stewardship plan will be created by a private licensed consulting forester or a licensed or certified wildlife biologist. They put together in consultation with the town, what the town goals and objectives are for owning that land. And then that stewardship plan gets reviewed by my staff, Jake DeLow up north, and myself, to make sure it complies with the terms of the easement.
So ultimately, with regards to any changes in the stewardship plan, it all comes back to you?
Correct.
So I wanted to ask another question about the ecosystem markets. Is that a part of the stewardship plan? Is that concerns about the carbon programs? And the local town of Milan, the people that are involved in the Milan Forest project, they're not in support of carbon programs. However, there is a caveat in there. It's sneaked in under the stewardship plan. What's your position on the carbon program at this point?
Yeah, given all the discussions about the carbon markets these days, we didn't think we could be silent on that issue in our future easements, but we didn't think it would also be prudent to outright not allow it, but put sideboards on it. So if the town has an interest in entering the carbon markets at some point in the future, They would have to come to us, and we would review it to make sure it complies with the terms and purposes of the easement and the funding source that we're using. But they don't have to enter into carbon markets. It's not a requirement, for sure. But we didn't want to prohibit it because it could be a tool that's appropriate 50, 100, 150 years down the road. Easements are in perpetuity. But again, as you've mentioned, the town has no intentions of entering into a carbon market in the foreseeable future.
Well, from my understanding, the town officials support sustainable forests.
Sure.
So there's recreation, harvesting, and that they want the land to be managed much like it's always been managed. And they don't want to restrict it or tie it up in a carbon offset program.
Sure. Yeah, we're very good with that.
Well, why can't we take the language out of these contracts with carbon offset programs? It seems to me, you know, it's just a little wedge or a little window there for someone to come in down the road to suddenly put this land into the carbon offset program. And you don't have the answer because it's a string attached with these federal dollars, and I don't like it when strings are attached to federal dollars. So that's just me as making a statement. Noted, thank you.
Is this required though by federal dollars, the carbon piece?
It's not required to my knowledge from federal dollars. Because of the discussions associated with carbon, we didn't think we should be silent on the issue, but put sideboard around it. That's really what the issue is.
It is more to leave opportunity if in the future the town decided to go a different direction, leave that as part of the package for them.
But to add to that, if it's silent under the stewardship agreement or federal language, if it's silent, council would have that ability to do that with the state anyway. So why do you have to spell it out?
Yeah, I would say, Jim, you said it wasn't part of the federal grant, but I thought that it actually was part of it, so maybe I'm mistaken. That's why I was supportive of leaving the language in, because I thought it was based on some of the federal.
So the last language that came in for the Gorham property, which was 4,000 acres, that language was in there.
Yeah.
And it was a federal requirement.
Right, exactly.
So I'm trying to figure out, why is the federal government telling states and local communities that that's an option or that's something you should have in your contract? That's all I'm saying.
I understand.
I'm frustrated.
Equally here as well on this topic.
All right, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
But on a positive note, and this is a great project for the town of Island, and there's been some great people who have been involved in this. We're excited to bring one up.
We never
Come on.
representative from the town here.
I'd actually like to bring up, if you don't mind, town of Island is here representing themselves, so.
Mylan's always welcome here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Governor and Executive Councils. I'm Mike Golaska. I'm the chairperson of the Mylan Community Forest Program Grant Committee. And it's a project that we've been working on, this particular acquisition, for 4 years. We started our community forest 15 years ago, and it's got a lot of community support. And we're just working very hard to try and create this community forest so that we have a continued working forest that's open to recreation for everybody. And makes a little money for the town, too.
All right.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Questions? Councilor Steve?
Colonel Jordan, agenda item 67. We've got to talk about Northwoods Lawn.
Morning, Governor, council members.
Congratulations.
I guess, thank you.
Northwoods Lawn 2.0.
Yes.
Very, very exciting. Can you tell us, what would you like to share with us?
So, quickly, I don't want to tie you up, but it is, I think, we still feel it's an important tool for the state of New Hampshire. I think it promotes the state. I think it promotes resources within the state. The other important factor, selfishly, I think it promotes the great work the people that I work with do. And in this day and age, any opportunity we get to promote that is a good thing. It's also a great messaging board for us and the state if we want to get out a particular message. They're telling me now that YouTube is the way to go. You can't prove any of that through me. But they say that it will reach a bigger and broader audience, and we were able to secure and keep full edit rights, which I insisted on, so we can control what's shown and when. So we're looking forward to it. I won't be on it. This is actually a radio face, not a television face, so you won't see any of the command staff on it.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Is there any chance that the governor and council get?
I think frankly, if we were to ask them, they would be happy to come here. It would be a great
I just
opportunity.
don't want to be the subject point of conversation.
And I would just like to say, we're losing our star, and Glenn Luke is one.
Yes,
Retired.
yes, he's retired, yeah. So I'll tell you, we have a lot of staff that will pick up that wheel and run. Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
While the colonel is here, I just want to say thank you for your speech and talk at the fallen officer ceremony.
Thank you, sir.
Governor, I thought your words were really hit home with many of the families.
Yes.
I was just proud to be there.
Yeah.
And I know some of those officers that were killed while I was serving with the Department of Safety and
Yes.
the AGs. But your words struck a chord with me, and I want to thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be a part of that, too. And I appreciate the council members coming to that. That's important for the families to see. And I agree the governor gave a great speech. Thank you.
Moving.
Governor, I move to table item 64.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I believe on a tabling motion, we just take it up, or is there discussion?
Right, discussion.
Okay, so all in favor of tabling item 64?
Aye.
Aye. Councilor Stephen, were you aye? Aye. Okay. The item carries. Thank you.
I would like to vote now, just for that.
No as well. Any further discussion on the remaining items? Hearing none, all in favor of all the items except for item 64, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes carry. Thank you.
Thank you.
I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 70 through 79 in the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. Second. Any discussion? Councilor Kennedy.
Good afternoon, Sarah Stewart, Commissioner of the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources.
Commissioner, I just have, in terms of Connecticut Headwaters, I guess advisory committee meeting, and this might, the Attorney General might be able to chime in here as well, but in the discussion of talking about the Connecticut Headwaters as far as the agreement that is, it's kind of being negotiated, if you will, with regards to, planning, I guess, the
Sports management plan.
Yeah, the stewardship plan, the sports management plan. Where would you have with that sort of council kind of knows? I know it's kind of convoluted, but this is my third Connecticut Headwaters meeting that I've attended, and so quite a bit of time has lapsed, and so I'm trying to figure out where we headed.
Thank you for the question. I can defer to either the AG's office or the governor.
Certainly, the Attorney General can come forward, but I can assure you that my office is heavily involved, also working with the Commissioner as well as the Attorney General for an agreement that I think it's a really important issue, because I want to make sure that there is an agreement that respects the ability of that property to be used for timber harvesting. As you know, that is a significant issue, Counselor, as well as other issues involved in that plan, including maintenance of the roads and other issues.
So a question to the Attorney General. When I was at the meeting on Friday, they couldn't speak to their carbon program that they end on a contract with whatever other entity they have a contract with. And it seems to me, we're getting to the point of how many forests are going to be cut each year. You have to need to know what agreement that they put together on the carbon fund. Because that seems to be kind of what's stalling, I think, some of this negotiation.
I'm also going to have my legal counsel here who's working on this as well in case he needs to answer any questions. Miles Madison.
Yeah, so I would just make a couple points, and I will defer to Miles if you want to add something. First, Councilor, just to address your question, ongoing discussions, for sure, as the Governor said, the Governor's office has been very engaged. And we'll say I think that's made a big difference. So I think the discussions have been productive. As we sit here today, we don't have an agreement, but discussions are ongoing, very active. To your point on the carbon piece, I mean, what I would just say to that is, when we get to the point where we have terms that we think we've agreed upon, hopefully we'll get to that point, we'll of course be looking at any relevant factor as to whether to ensure that those terms are complied with, right? That both parties follow through with their obligations in the agreement. So I can't sit here and speak to your question or sort of point as to whether I think it's absolutely necessary that we know those details. But what I can say is that I'm confident that we will do our due diligence and make sure that whatever terms the parties have agreed on, that we'll be able to ensure follow through. And Miles, I don't know if you have something to add to that, because Miles Madison, the Governor's legal counsel, who I will note used to be a senior assistant attorney general at the Department of Justice, who I know very well and have the highest confidence in. He's been working a lot on this issue. So Miles, if you have something to add, obviously.
Thank you, Councilor, and it was good to be at the meeting on Friday up in Pittsburgh, hearing from the various committee members and also the stakeholders there relating to those programs. So the Governor's office has been very involved in this issue, coordinating, as mentioned, with the Commissioner and the Attorney General, not just on the legal status of understanding the provisions of the easement, but also understanding the economic impact, the actual operations that are going on in the forest and all of those different considerations. So I think that the Governor's priorities in achieving a good outcome for the North Country for added maintenance and enforcement of that easement really draws on all of those different components and making sure that we have a sustainable, vibrant working forest there that really represents the North Country's interests, and the landowner is involved in discussions with the Governor's office relating to how we can achieve that objective.
Well, I appreciate the Governor and for your team, Governor, looking out for this issue. One thing I learned at that meeting was when you looked at the entire 46,000 acres, I thought it was segmented into acreage that were under carbon program. But it's a net amount. And there's a discrepancy, I think, on our interpretation, on their interpretation. And I think the only way you can clear the air is if you see that contract that they have with whatever entity that's providing that carbon credit to them, because that will give a true testament to what they can actually harvest on that property. Because we might find ourselves that because of the agreement that they set up, that we've backed into a situation where we're only getting 15 or 20,000 foot a year based off of that other agreement that they made. So it would be nice if they were transparent with that contract.
Absolutely, and understanding those dynamics is important in order to ensure that the easement is administered and enforced as written.
Yeah, no, I appreciate, obviously you're right on top of it. I don't want to be a hardliner, but the more discussion, and the more time that goes on, I don't think anything gets resolved. Eventually, the state's going to have to be hardline with the law and say, this is what you're going to do as far as the courts that you're going to cut every year to support the local communities with revenue, to support sustainability, and to support the original intent of that agreement. Because I just hope we get to an amicable solution.
Councilor Kenny, I couldn't agree more. And we are going to resolve this. We hope it's amicable, but we're going to protect the state's interests and we're going to protect the North Country.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Any further questions for the Commissioner? Councilor Leo.
Thank you.
Cannon Mountain. It has 3 items on this agenda, and so I would ask you to just briefly give an update about Cannon.
Great. So we had snow this winter, a lot of it, and we benefited from a wonderful ski season. I asked our relatively new mountain manager, Jay Stewart, to email all of you. Some of you may recall getting emails from JD when he ran Cannon Mountain, and it was a good way for this council to stay connected with the operations of the mountain. And so I think you'll have some stats in your email about the season and being in Franconia National State Park, all of the amenities being opened up for a busy spring, summer, and fall as well. So we're hiring, we're opening up our campgrounds and our hiking trails, and our flume is running, and the tram will be running soon. Thank you for the question. We're doing great. And it's our 90th anniversary this year for our state park system, so we'll have a lot of celebrations around the year too.
That's excellent, and I'll let the council know that for my on-the-road meeting in August, the first week of August, or the first meeting of August, that I am looking to host us at Sunapee and to get a presentation on both of our state-owned ski areas, Great Sunapee and Cannon Mountain. So look forward to doing that, and especially to seeing some of those summer, the ways that they're diversifying to bring revenue and people during the summer. Thank you.
Governor, and Commissioner, could you give us an update on the selection process for our new state parks director and where we're at in that process?
Thank you. As you know, it's a big job and one that we're taking very seriously. We've received, I would say, about 40 applications nationwide, which is a testament to the quality of this position, and it was a wonderful reminder of the potential in our state park system to attract talent from all over the country. That said, we've been narrowing this down. We've had 2 rounds of interviews, and I am deliberating with my panel of folks that helped me through this process. And I'm hoping to bring the governor a really great candidate for her to meet and talk to and perhaps nominate soon.
Well, the council can't wait.
Trust me, I can't wait. It's a big pull to fill.
I'm super excited as well.
Yes,
thank you. Any further questions?
Well, I comment, when you said benefit by the ski season, I personally did not benefit from the ski season.
We love snow.
It's about 75% healed now, and we'll be back, so thank you.
Yeah.
That's great. There are no further questions for the commissioner. All in favor of items 779, signify by saying aye. Aye. The item is carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 80 through 121A from the Department of Environmental Services. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
That was so close. Thank you. For the record, Bob Scott with the Department of Environmental Services.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is a dock permit for Mr. Bouchard, and as I stated earlier, I'm concerned. I will not be supporting this permit.
Any further discussion? Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Governor. This was agenda 121. So this is the NPDE report, and I appreciate the work that your team did on this report. But when we created this water fund, if you will, back in roughly 2012, 13, can you tell us exactly what's been expended, how much is left, and what our strategy is moving into the future with this settlement fund that we kind of turned into the water fund?
So to be more explicit, so this is the FTD remediation fund. So this is monies that were moved and intended for, if they're actually controlled by the Department of Justice. They work very closely with us, and is to address explicitly water contamination. I say that because I just want to make sure you weren't thinking the Groundwater Drinking Water Trust Fund, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So I don't have the figures in front of me as far as how much money is left and that type of thing. So what we are doing is the monies are generally used to address properties that have MTB contamination, help remediate those. Unlike, we often talk about PFAS where we don't see any degradation. We do see MTBE actually degrades over time. So time's our friend in that respect. So we are actually getting to the point where we've accomplished a lot of our goals over time for MTBE. So I would argue that this has been a very successful program, if that helps.
No, I just, I didn't really get a final analysis out of this report of where we're going in the future with it, so, but, I think that I can work with your department to get some of those things.
Sure. But we'd be happy. We do this, as you know, this is an informational item that we do every year by statute. So we're very happy to not only answer your questions, but incorporate people's questions. I'm happy somebody's questioning it. Sometimes we send a lot of reports to the legislature and other places and we get no feedback. So
well, this particular report is very important to the people who get their drinking water.
Correct.
So I think anything that comes out of it, legislators or elected officials should be paying attention.
I like to think we're doing such a great job. We just
There's still contamination out there.
Councilor Leopold.
Thank you. And I wanted to thank your department. I have many constituents in my district who are concerned about drinking water, especially in the Lake Sunapee watershed. And I wanted to thank you for sending folks to an upcoming meeting from your department to an upcoming meeting of the Mount Sunapee Commission to address some of the questions that they have around environmental questions. And I appreciate that very much. I know the Newbury Conservation Commission and some of the other neighboring towns are very appreciative.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? By the way, I'm really glad to hear we made all this progress on the MTBE. I was in the Attorney General's office when we tried to sue on all this, and it's glad to see an outcome that's helping protect New Hampshire from that contamination. So thank you for that. So all in favor of items 80 through 120A from the Department of Environmental Services, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items.
No on 96.
No on 96.
No on 121A.
So noted. I asked for a motion to adopt agenda items 122 and 123 for the Department of Education.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The items
No
carried.
on
No.
122. No on 122 and 123.
The items still carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 124 through 128 from the Department of Safety.
So moved.
Any discussion? Here, Councilor Steve.
I'd like to just ask Commissioner Brady if he can come up with it. On number 124, I know we have approved previously the Texas firm to come in and improve the security at the hospital. And this is for overtime for officers. Can you give us just an update on how that transfer or how that's going?
Sure. Good afternoon, Governor, Executive Council. For the record, Bob Quinn from the Department of Safety. Thank you for the question, Council Stevens. This contract was approved February 26th, I believe, $3.1 million for the biennium. And so Veterans Serving America has been working diligently with the Department of Safety leadership and the hospital. So prior to becoming operational, they've got to go through some required training. So we've been working with them as they provide their workforce and complete all the requirements of being an armed security agency working in a state hospital facility. So it's working well. We're in the training phase right now. We're doing all the due diligence of the requirements around security. But I will say this, it's a new program that we're setting up, and the state police have done a very good job working with the hospital and ensuring that they are going to be adequately trained before they become operational in the state hospital. And it will be a 24/7 operation as they come in, securing the facility at the entrance. They've got a floater, and they can also provide some dispatch support if you need it. And the state police have done well with the vacancies that we've had. As you'll see, they've got a number of vacancies, but there's 3 in process right now to be hired in the state office, campus police force, so things are moving in the right direction, sir.
And are you satisfied that the Texas company is going to be able to have the workforce hired in time and to do the work, and they're not going to have workforce issues?
I'm told there's 19 now that they're training, so I believe this is a national company, and again, I lean on the AG's office. There was a contract here, and they're going to meet the requirements of it, so we're doing due diligence to check the boxes off.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to note, I was recently touring the New Hampshire hospital, and I really appreciate it, and they were on the ground, and they were being trained there, and I was impressed. I was able to meet a number of them. So it's happening, and I appreciate the leadership on that.
I didn't know if Mrs. Plank had anything to add.
Thank you, Ellen LaPointe, CEO at New Hampshire Hospital, and thank you, Governor. We really appreciated your visit. As was mentioned, there's been a high degree of collaboration between the department, New Hampshire Hospital, and the Department of Safety. A lot of time and due diligence put into this contract, which we truly appreciate, given the environment in which we operate. I feel very comfortable with the communication and collaboration that has occurred so far. We have our Lieutenant Roy Pywell, who is phenomenal, who is a staple at New Hampshire Hospital amongst SOC police, and with the support of Department of Safety leadership, I feel like we're getting very close to having those folks be completed in their orientation. And as the Governor mentioned, a large group of individuals who have already been onboarded and are currently undergoing their training.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Councilor Steve?
Good afternoon, Commissioner. In regards to Agenda Item 129, which is a $275,000 contract for a drug detection system, and we had approved a similar contract back on March 26th.
I just stopped for a second. On my agenda, it said it was removed by the department. I just want to clarify. 2029. Is that?
Yes, Ms. Newbury had done work to have that removed because it was not complete.
And I don't know if yours was not updated, so, but I received it. Yeah, mine says removed.
You will be seeing that in the future as we ensure that you get a complete packet.
Okay, no, thank you. I mean, that was my question in regards to we had approved another contract, and we know there's great risk. We're very vulnerable with drones, so we'll look forward to that contract.
Thank you.
I wanted to that was a different item I had, 128. No real question, but I wanted to make sure that, the Manchester Fire Department, our district, answered the call in Hurricane Helene to travel a great distance to help the people in North Carolina. I fully read this report, their updated report. It was about future, it was also about future gaps. And I really commend them. I want to publicly say to the Manchester Fire Department, thank you for those individuals that went to risk their lives too. They actually, in one of the reports, pulling an elderly woman out of a home that was ready to collapse. And I would urge my council, if you haven't read this, to read the FEMA report that they put in for their travel to North Carolina. And I think it's just a testament to the fire departments in our state, how they answer the call. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that, Governor. Thank you, Commissioner. I know you'll be working on these gaps as we go forward, too. This is just one of them.
And I give credit to Director Buxton for working with them. They have identified these needs, they're shifted the dollars, but credit goes to them and Manchester Fire.
Outstanding.
If there are no further questions of the Commissioner, then I ask for approval all in favor of items 124 through 128 of the Department of Safety.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I asked for, it's scary, I asked for a motion to adopt agenda items 130 through 143 from the Department of Justice. Is there a second? Excuse me. Any discussion?
Discussion.
Hearing no discussion, we
Yeah.
do have a motion proceeding.
On item, I believe it's 141. General.
Yep. Good afternoon.
Again, I appreciate, earlier we had a conversation about this too, but I'm just concerned in looking at this, and I look at the statute, that I understand the consolidation of hospitals that are going on. And my first question is, with 1.5 million, or 1.6, I feel like we're starting at the University of New Hampshire now, creating a whole new unit. It's like growing our government, in my opinion, because we're going to be, in the future, they're going to come back and ask for more money and more grants, and we're going to continue to see this growth at a time when we're having really difficult times on the budget. And I realize that these dollars have to be spent for consumer protection or consumers in the area. Do you think that $1.59 million to the university for this type of research is absolutely necessary, or can those funds under the contract, the RSA, be used for other means to help, individuals with issues of access, like we talked about earlier, maybe some providers to help in the community with directly helping some individuals, rather than creating, it says to establish a whole new research entity at the University of New Hampshire.
So I'd like to give some background on this, if I could, because this is a really important item for me. It's a very important topic. Healthcare consolidation is a really critical issue in New Hampshire, and we've seen, especially in the last 10 years, a trend towards consolidation in the healthcare industry. At the Department of Justice, we have the duty to review these transactions when they are proposed. The Charitable Trust Unit conducts a review. The Consumer Protection Antitrust Bureau also conducts a review. The Charitable Trust Unit basically is looking at whether the transaction is in the best interest of hospitals and the communities they serve. The Consumer Protection Antitrust Bureau is looking at whether a transaction is going to reduce competition in a particular market area or a service line, increase costs, and overall be harmful to healthcare consumers. During my time as Attorney General, we've had a few significant transactions. And in my first couple of years, as folks will remember, we were reviewing the proposed acquisition or merger between Catholic Medical Center, at the time was Granite One Health System, and Dartmouth Health. That transaction ultimately wasn't approved. As part of that review, though, we were considering various remedies that could be imposed on a transaction of that sort to protect consumers. And that's a really difficult calculation in a healthcare transaction, because the typical antitrust remedy is to divest. So if you think a transaction is going to reduce competition, to require a hospital to get rid of services or move providers somewhere else, that's a difficult thing to do in the healthcare sector. But either that or just blocking the transaction is typically the most effective remedy in an antitrust review. This commission and this trust fund came to be because as we were considering some of those transactions, we thought, well, a middle ground, another type of remedy that we can use to protect consumers or have a transaction give some benefit to consumers to offset harm to consumers, is money into a fund that has to be used to benefit healthcare consumers. So we worked with the legislature 2 years ago in the last budget to write this statute, to set up this trust fund, to set up this commission. And one of the unique things about this statute is that it allows us to negotiate terms and settlements that we can't typically negotiate in other settlements. So typically the Attorney General, if we're going to settle with someone for some harm they've done to the state and get cash, we can't specify what that cash is going to be used for. That's left to the legislature. In this type of circumstance, we can negotiate with parties to a transaction to specify use for the funds. The first funds that came into this trust fund were from the acquisition of Exeter Hospital by Beth Israel Lahey. $1 million a year for 10 years, so $10 million over 10 years. And the first priority for the use of those funds is to establish a healthcare market research entity and to conduct this type of research on our healthcare markets. So I do think we have an obligation to use at least a portion of those funds for something like this. We had a lot of conversation about this in the Healthcare Consumer Protection Advisory Commission. That's a commission that's set up. We wanted to keep it pretty small. It's the Attorney General or designee, HHS Commissioner or designee, Insurance Commissioner or designee, a member of the Senate, a member of the House, 2 members of the public appointed by the governor. Had a lot of discussion about how best to do that in that commission. We thought about whether we would just hire a consultant to have a state government agency do it. We thought about whether we'd set up a program like this at an institution in the state. We ultimately landed on that option because we wanted to strike a balance between independence from state government, but still sufficient oversight by state government so that this research group, this research center was going to do what we thought would be helpful for the state. There's a number of deliverables in this grant agreement that have to be delivered over the next 4 years, and I look at this as a discrete effort. So I don't see this as setting up a sort of a new center or thing at UNH that has to continue forever. It'll be a 4-year project with deliverables during those 4 years. They're obligated to come present to this commission whenever the commission wants them to present. We'll be checking with them on progress frequently. But this frankly is a topic that hasn't had enough discussion, I think, in the state over the last 10 years. We can't have enough discussion about it, in my opinion, because it's going to be a really, really critical issue for years to come. And after the market is consolidated, because that's the direction we're going, we're going to shift from transaction-based enforcement to conduct-based enforcement. So just because 2 hospitals merge and they reach an agreement with us, that doesn't mean they can otherwise violate antitrust law. But we need to have as many voices and as many folks looking at our markets and seeing what's happening, because you have it at the macro level, so at the system level, at the hospital level, then you have it all the way down to the service line level. And that's going to take a lot of eyes and ears on the ground, seeing what's happening in our communities. So there's going to be close to $20 million coming into this trust fund over the next 10 years. This particular item spends only, close to $1.6 million over 4 years. We wanted to not use a large portion of the money that's coming in. We wanted to keep the indirect costs down. You'll see, because these are state funds, we held that down to 10%. And we're going to keep a close eye on this over the next 4 years. The grant will be monitored by our grants management unit. And I think it's going to be a really, really important program for the state. So that's a long answer to your question. As you can tell, I've spent a lot of time on this. When I first became Attorney General, I had a weekly meeting a weekly meeting to check in with the team on our review of the Dartmouth and CMC transaction. These types of transactions are so important to the state, it requires a lot of the Attorney General's time, and I've spent a lot of time on this issue. And I think we really need something like this, because we don't have it. Other states have something like this. We don't have somebody outside the state government looking at our market. And as enforcers, as regulators, we look at these issues from a different perspective than the academic world does, and we need all of those perspectives. So I see your concern that we don't want to create something that will exist in perpetuity that just creates a new funding obligation. I don't think that's what this does. They're not building a new building at UNH. They're not constructing new space. They're calling it a research center. But what they're really doing is, because we're going to commit funding, they're going to focus a lot of existing resources that they wouldn't otherwise focus on these issues. And it's going to be a public state institution. I think it'll be really, really valuable for the state.
So, Paul, real brief, thank you for that long answer. You really helped. I'm just struggling with this because at 1.5 million, am I being unreasonable to say you could take a small portion of this, $500,000, and do this type of research for you, and then the rest of it, the statute says solely for the benefit of healthcare consumers. That's pretty vague. Could you look at other uses for that? Is that being unreasonable?
Well, we certainly are going to be looking at other uses for the other, I guess I would say, $16 or $17 million that would be in this trust fund. Because to your point, Council, there are a lot of other things that we can do with this money to benefit healthcare consumers, and we certainly want to look at that. The Commission is going to be having 3 public meetings over the next 3 months. The first is scheduled to be in Rochester next week. we're trying to hit the areas of the state where these transactions have happened. But yes, we want to focus most of this money on other issues and on things that directly benefit those who are interacting with the healthcare system or benefit healthcare consumers. But I think research and study is one important piece.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add here, just to back up a little bit, Attorney General says the Healthcare Consumer Protection Advisory Commission will be having an information meeting at Frisbee on the 28th, in the community library, 4:30 to 6:30. And it's really to discuss the merger with HCA, and I think we're backing up what you're saying, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Any, Councilor Wheeler?
Do the public members have council approval too, or governor only?
Governor only.
Any further discussion? Let me just say that I think this is an incredibly important issue when it comes to having the information the Attorney General's office needs and having that study, because this consolidation is not benefiting the people of New Hampshire. What's happening is they're losing access to care, and so having more information as we conduct these analysis and different entities, look to come together, it's important outside information to make those the proper decisions so that we can protect the people of New Hampshire. Any further discussion on this? Councilor Stevens.
Just one final note in regards to the merger and acquisition of Exeter Hospital by Beth Israel Lady Health. We've spent a lot of time on this issue. I look forward to the Grant Thornton monitoring report, which is due in June, because the first monitoring report preceded, the publishing date preceded the deadlines for many issues. So that's going to tell us volumes about what services have been sustained. So I look forward to that report.
Any further discussion? All in favor of items 130 through 143 from the Department of Justice signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No on 141.
No.
The ayes carry. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 146 and 147 from the Department of Health and Human Services. So moved. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes carry. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 148 through 150 from the Department of Health and Human Services, Division for Children, Youth, and Families.
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes carry. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 151 and 152 from the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Medicaid Services. So moved. Is there a second?
Second, and I have a question.
Councilor Bailey.
Hello, Commissioner, thank you. Medicaid is on a lot of people's minds these days. I've been watching the federal budget as it works its way through the process, and one of the policy issues that looks like is going to be included in the federal budget is work requirements for Medicaid. I guess my question is, do work requirements for Medicaid make additional work, make additional demands on resources at our department, at the state level? How would we be impacted potentially by a work requirement?
Sure, thank you for the question. Back in 2018, we were preparing for a work requirement and didn't implement that. In order to implement the work requirement, we're going to need resources. We need to make system changes. So we would need money to make the system changes as well as resources of people to be able to make that happen. Because it's not just changing the system, it's then doing the eligibility pieces that go with that as well, and the monitoring. That is, there's increased eligibility timeframes. Renewals are looking at a higher frequency as well.
I think I saw a recent report that suggested that there could be around 36,000 people who might lose Medicaid in the federal budget as it's being considered. 18,000 from Medicaid expansion, and then another 18,000 from Medicaid. Do you have any further updates or
I'm going to invite Henry up, but I would just say that the numbers are changing daily, and we're watching it very closely, and Henry's been great with his resources of keeping us and the governor as well as updated as to what that look like. Obviously, we're not through the process yet, although there may be some decisions made as early as the end of this week. We still don't have all of the pieces, but in terms of the numbers, I think they're what we're looking at.
Thank you. For the record, Henry Whitman, the Medicaid Director. Actually, numbers were just published today by the Kaiser Foundation. They gave a range specific to the work requirement between 12 to, not just the work requirement, but the provisions within the Energy and Commerce Committee's bill between 12 and 20,000. When you also consider, and that's I think basically in the Medicaid space, if the ACA components of that bill, they have a range of 18 to 30,000 as being the potential coverage loss. And the first number, I think publicly nationwide, they talked about 8.6 million. So our share of that 8.6 million number would be between 12 and 20.
Just follow up. Director, we're talking about able-bodied individuals here, correct?
Yes.
So we're talking about people that can work, have the ability to work, and with some help, may find a job and move on to self-sufficiency. Is that what we're talking about?
In terms of the work requirement, yes. I think in terms of, there are other provisions within that energy and commerce component.
I'm just mentioning the work requirement.
Yes.
And there's also exemptions built in that allow for anyone that can and doesn't have the ability to work to not work and not have to be forced to work. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Stevens?
Good afternoon, Mr. Whitman. So in regards to agenda item 151, I was elated to see, in terms of the incentive program, that all three of our MCOs have essentially hit it out of the park with lead testing for 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds. Because it was perhaps 2 years ago that I came to distraught over the levels had plummeted by, I think it was 25%. So you're getting great traction.
Thank you.
And then in terms of the withhold, there was a potential for the MCOs to earn back 77 million. They earned back 37% of those funds. Is that typical?
So in 2.0, the procurement from 19 through 24, we had a 2% withhold. And so some withholds are taken in advance. The way we structured ours is also connected to how we set rates. And so for actuarial certification purposes, we took the withhold back after the experience. So if they didn't meet the metrics, we bought back money. But for rate certification purposes, we need to leave all the money in the program. And so what we did is that if they didn't meet certain metrics, we added new metrics. Some of the important ones were to help lift up lead testing. Another one was helping us with the redeterminations. We've moved from an eligibility standpoint, making sure that people who are eligible remain eligible, but also individuals who no longer need Medicaid have moved out of state, that we identify those individuals. So there's about the last 12 months, more than 11,000 individuals that we've identified that either didn't want Medicaid any further and moved out of state or what have you. And so we're making sure that those who are no longer eligible or don't want eligibility, that we're reducing the rules for that, but also doing tremendous outreach on those who should remain eligible. When we see, for example, claims experience of a child that we're concerned that they would be losing eligibility, MCOs are making calls, and then our medical unit within Medicaid are making calls to families to make sure that we're not losing people who should remain eligible. So working both sides of the equation.
Just to follow up, enrollment must be around 180?
We're about 184 as we speak today.
Okay. Thank you. That's come down significantly since the pandemic.
Yes, we're over 200.
enrollment, so, and you managed that really, really well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? I want to congratulate Commissioner Bieber and Dr. Lippman and his team, we were recently named the #1 state in the country when it comes to mental health, Medicaid for that. That's such an important. If there aren't any further discussion on these items, all in favor of items 151 and 152 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No abstaining on 151.
Thank you. The item is carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 153 from the Department of Health and Human Services, New Hampshire Hospital.
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 154 and 155 from the Department of Health and Human Services, Glen Home.
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of items 154 and 155 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item is carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 156 and 159 from the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Public Health Services.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Counselor Stevens.
This is the number again. Make sure, I want to make sure we want to.
We're on 156 to 159 right now. Okay. Having no discussion there, all in favor of those items, 156 to 159, signify by saying aye. Aye. The item is carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 160 through 168 from the Department of Health and Human Services, Division for Behavioral Health. So moved. Second. Discussion. Counselor Stevens.
Yes.
Thank you for your work on those.
Thank you. Even though we're #1 in mental health, we still have to be cost effective, fiscally responsible. I have a couple questions.
Of course.
162 and 161.
It's a combination of the program, looking at making sure that the terms of the agreement, that the contract are met. It is the finance that's looking at the invoices, again, cost reimbursement. And so we have our full team, as we do with any contract, in monitoring our finances and our contract provisions.
So final question, if I were to move to table, and if it was tabled, this, until we can figure out exactly what is being spent for what, and whether it's required, and whether or not it's consistent with the lawsuit, we get some more information. This is 100% general fund. Would that at all?
We have residents living in 2 of the homes.
I understand that.
Okay, so we have a 3rd home that's purchased that they're waiting to be able to, in purchase, an agreement to fill those beds. So there will be an impact on what you do. We're required to put folks back into community, which is what we did. It's costly, but it's also been meeting the requirements of the lawsuit and well received by the communities and their families. So in terms of its cost reimbursement, it is costly to provide nursing level care in a facility and a home. So they've had to incur those costs, and they will continue, and those will fluctuate depending on the needs. So if you table it, I have great concern that we're going to be able to continue to provide those services.
Okay, so Commissioner, in all due respect, this contract goes to the end of June. Your department can't meet with us after this, and just like we did with one of the other contracts, and we look at the finances, and we figure out a way we can save some money for the general fund.
I have no problem discussing finances with you, but I can't have this go tabled for 3 items and then I go pass, and I have no way to be able to provide the fund to provide those during the service. That's my concern. We're in the middle of May. We have 2 meetings in June. So if you want to be very specific about what you're looking for, I'd be more than happy to meet with you and go over that. But I have to have some level of commitment that we're going to take some action on it and not put these people at risk by July 1st.
I'm not going to go through this. I just want to make sure your department, working with the Attorney General, whoever, if I move to table and it's approved, is going to work with us to look at the costs. What are we spending $9.5 million on? That's all I'm asking. And I think we need time. I need time to look at that.
Councilor Wheeler.
I don't think I've heard yet, unless I missed it, how many people per year are coming out of Glen that live in the homes? How many are we serving now?
So I don't have the
total number since the signing of the agreement. I know it exceeds 16, and I know that Ellen is here and is part of that as overseeing Glencliff. Right now, so we've had people transition to different settings. So the agreement calls for settings that are very specific. There's supposed to be 4 people or less in the community residence. When we renegotiated this portion of it, we insisted on bumping up to 5 because of the fixed costs for addressing people's needs. So we have 9 people in these 2 residences right now. We have a waiting list at Glencliff of people to transition into these beds as soon as they become available. And that wait list fluctuates anywhere from 10 to 20 people looking to return to the community.
Ellen LaPointe, CEO at New Hampshire Hospital. I also oversee and support Glencliff Home. I would also just advocate, Katja just mentioned the wait list to transition folks into Glencliff has a direct impact on bed capacity at New Hampshire Hospital. And as you know, our desire to achieve our Mission Zero outcomes, which we've made phenomenal progress with, directly hinges on the support and availability of these community-based resources in our partnership with NFI.
Councilor Stevens.
So when I did the math, it's a little over $900 a night per resident, correct? So it's about $27,000 per month and $324,000 annually. And that is competitive with other long-term care facilities, correct?
Yes.
My only concern is that they bring online that 4th home, which they've had 2 years to do so. I would be satisfied.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to table and work with the department. I want to be able to look at the financial arrangement and ask a number of questions that I wasn't able to ask today.
Second.
All in favor of the tabling motion on, I believe it's item 163, just to clarify, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The tabling motion passes. And then if I could have a motion accepting all in favor of accepting item 163, in favor of items 160 to 168. Signify by saying aye. Aye. The item is carried. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 169 from the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Health Equity. Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. I ask for a motion to adopt late item A from the Department of Health and Human Services, New Hampshire Hospital.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The item carries. I ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 170 through 179 from the Department of Administrative Services.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Councilor Kent.
Thank you.
Oh, good afternoon.
Not yet.
Close.
So I'm just trying to get a better handle on agenda 179. It looks like there's a temporary contract to remove a boiler. But originally we were trying to do 2 projects, one with Portsmouth Circuit Courthouse, along with Dover Circuit Courthouse. But then we found out that it was too costly, so we went back.
There are, so occasionally you'll see a lot of boiler projects on public works projects, and it's a thing that happens a lot. And occasionally we try to bundle projects so that we get more interest because it's more money, and so we get more people to bid. In the bidding process, when we had them bundled, there were bidders who were particularly low on one of the projects. So we split them. We didn't actually eliminate the project, but there are actually two projects. And they're two different bidders, but they're both really quite low, and new bidders to the state as well. So I believe the other one was last meeting, or maybe 2 meetings ago, and so this is the other half of that project. So I would note in each case it's a new bidder that we haven't had before. And one of the reasons for some of the time with it is that we sometimes have to work with a new bidder. And also, this is going to sound crazy, but when a project's really low, we often have a discussion with the bidder to make sure that they didn't miss a page.
Okay. So is the Dover Circuit Court consolidating with the Rochester Court?
I don't believe the Dover Circuit Court is consolidated with Rochester. I think take me to keep order. I think the Superior Court is consolidated with the Rochester Circuit Court. We're about to do that. I think this is the one out on the county complex.
Okay. So this is going to be a courthouse, that's going to be...
Yes, it's not going anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you bump it for it to go somewhere.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor of items 170 through 179, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have item 23, but we're going to keep that on the table for now. And then, is there any other business to come before the council today? Councilor Leo Hill?
I just wanted to say how nice it was to be at the ribbon cutting for the supportive housing that just opened up on Monday night here in Concord together with you and Councilor Stevens. I was not able to attend the memorial last week. While you were there, I was at the graduation for New Hampshire Technical Institute for their commencement, and so it sounds like those are great events, and I look forward to the graduation ceremony for Police Academy and Corrections taking place tomorrow afternoon.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councilor Kenny.
I'm not going to tell the council where I was all last week because it would take too long. However, I do want to give an update on the Laconia State property. The Laconia State property and the developers in the city of Laconia are working together magnificently.
The issue, we understand there's a contract that's going to be done with the financial management firm at the end of June. I'd like to have the treasurer come to the council table to at least let us know, because we have a number of...
As you know, there's pending legislation that's coming to my desk, and I haven't reviewed it yet, so I'll take a look at that, and we can go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further